Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Episode 9 already.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
Episode
gone quick.
9. Very good. That means we've been doing this for 9 weeks.
Yep. Good maths there, Wesley. Well done.
Good what?
Good
maths.
maths. Well done.
Good maths. Yeah. I know. I try. I do my best.
How are we all this week?
we are very good.
Yeah, not good. Not bad even. Not good. It's been a
Not
busy
bad.
week.
It has been quite the busy week. So how was that week? Karl, how was your week?
Pretty good. Busy. Playing with Azure Arc and private linky stuff. So, productive enough week. Not enough cloud native in this week for me, but that's how that happens.
Was it all in Terraform or clicking in the Azure portal?
It will eventually be in Terraform. A lot of
eventually.
design and test.
So you're
Well, I'm
also
not gonna write Terraform just to test the theory out, because that would take longer than the test. So it's a waste of time.
Sounds
you know
good.
that friends don't let friends click in the Azure portal, right?
Yeah. That's what I was getting at.
Portal adventures are to be frowned upon, but for production, it's okay to click about and learn a technology or to, double check a theory and stuff. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. All right.
All right. Sorry, that's fine. All right, Richard, how's your week been?
Yeah, lots of bicep. Working on some bits and pieces for some customers, bit of machine learning, synapses, and stuff like that. And also been playing with the new Azure App Gateway for containers, which is really nice. But I think we'll go into that a bit later, a bit more.
We will definitely discuss that. Yes, that sound was my chair rolling away because I was very annoyed by the very small thing you could still see from my chair. My week
over there.
Definitely professionals on this show. Yep.
Very professional. I just gave it a kick and then I forgot that it's a wooden floor, so make some noise. All right. My week has been more tech than normal, which I really like. Working with some Kubernetes for customers, and just today played with some Bicep with Richard, trying to figure out some workload identity stuff in Bicep for AKS.
Very cool.
I think we modified some custom modules. That was fun. Yeah, and it worked. Eventually, it worked.
Woo! Congratulations.
Yeah, trial and error, kind of thing you love to do, right?
Yes.
All right. No, it was a good week. Your week.
It would have been quicker if West Europe had capacity. We had to move to different regions, but it's all fine.
Awkward.
West Europe has some compute issues. Well, not some, like very big issues.
It is a hero region, so I mean it is very popular. So
yeah.
No, it is, and I think it's been a while since we've had serious capacity issues. So I mean, it happens. Just the way.
Just use North Europe. We're better over here anyway. It's fine.
I'm not actually doing that temporarily. Well, all right.
It's just a bit hard to travel under the sea for the data, but it's fine.
It's fine. A few milliseconds. What's a few milliseconds between friends? I mean,
exactly.
All right. We're going to move on to our cloud native news.
Awesome. So first up this week, we have CNCF ambassador applications are open for their fall intake. So if you're sorry, Wesley, if you're involved in the cloud native community in any way and you want to be recognized for that and to use the ambassador award to further your reach and the cloud native adoption message, then get your applications in. So
yep, Rob, who was on recently, is one as well. So he was a couple of episodes or so ago, I think, or was it last week?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, Flux.
2 weeks ago. Yep. So you can be like Rob.
Have you applied, Richard?
Yes, I've applied. Cross my fingers. You never know what happens, but it'll be nice if it happens. If it doesn't, I've got the one next year to apply for. Do more stuff. Help the community better.
Awesome. Good luck. Next up,
Thank
then
Nice.
you mentioned App Gateway for containers, and you've been playing with that this week. So, what's your first impressions?
It's nice. It works really nice. So I've been doing some testing. I had a few issues with it working with service meshes, but it's just the way Kubernetes handles the API. So, like, if you use a service mesh like LinkerD, it uses the sort of same APIs, but a slightly different name. And so, if you do the short abbreviations of the APIs, like kubectl, get HTTP routes, it will get the LinkerD one first before it gets the gateway API one. So you just need to give it the full name. That was quite fun to figure out. And I've sort of been playing with it, trying to get it to work on multiple clusters, which isn't in any of the documentation. And I think I've managed to do it. I'm not sure if it's a supported method, but it seems to be working. Yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on and keep testing as it improves through the preview phases.
Awesome. And given that it's in preview, the product teams are going to want to hear feedback. So if you have one piece of feedback to give the product teams, if they're listening, what would it be?
So if they're listening, it would be when you do bring your own app gateway for containers, let the cluster be able to create the front ends, because currently now you have to manually create it. But if you have a app gateway which is all managed from inside the cluster, it will create all of it for you. So I'm sure there's ways around it. It'll be nice to see. Hopefully we'll get that going forward.
Awesome. So is that like using annotations like they do with things like NAT Gateway and Private Link, so that it goes off and creates its own stuff?
Yeah,
That'd be pretty
exactly.
cool.
Annotations are needed. You just sort of give it the name of the app gateway for containers you're using, and it's all good.
Awesome. All right. Next up, then, in our news is everybody's favorite CNI, Cilium, the proposal for graduation, which is awesome. So it's open for public comment right now. I think the three of us have already commented. So get yourself to that link and add your support. Our votes don't count in the grand scheme of things. They need a certain percentage of members to vote for the graduation, but they do pay attention to what the general public say on these things, and the support from the wider community for it. So, yep, Cilium is a fantastic product and far and above one of the most powerful CNIs we have in the ecosystem at the minute. So, yep, get over there and add your +1 or your comment.
Yep.
And it definitely helps, even if you're not a member, it definitely helps.
Awesome. Are we using Cilium, the Azure CNI supported by Cilium, anywhere in production yet, gents?
Not in production just yet, but I do have all my example bicep ready to go. So hopefully soon we can get a few customers with that. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
And are you using the Azure CNI version, or are you using bring your own?
Using the Azure CNI version with the Cilium data plane, which is quite nice. I see on the AKS roadmap, they got a lot of extra features they're going to be bringing soon, like the layer 7 network policies and other bits and pieces to support as well, which is nice.
So then we get feature parity with other products we've been using, and then it's definitely the plan to push that to production.
Yeah, there's so many other things that it links into as well, of which I've forgotten the names of, but the other products by the Isovalent team.
Like Hubble for the
yes.
and their own version of a mesh as well, which will be nice.
And I'd like to see because the Azure version doesn't have the layer 7 functionality right now, but I'd like to see that come to the Azure version as well, because the layer 7 functionality is pretty cool.
For sure.
All right, moving on. Richard, do you want to take this one?
Which one is it?
Wasm.
Oh yes, Wasm. Yeah, so this is quite cool. So Wasm Edge runtime is moved from incubation, from sandbox to incubation now. So Wasm, as we all know or should know, is probably where the technology is going. So after containers, it'll be Wasm, and there's a massive push. The last two KubeCons, these were hot topics. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. It's good to see that the projects are moving up the ladder in the CNCF.
So it's not quite in the incubation stage yet. The proposal is to move it from sandbox to incubation. So check out that pull request for the oversight committee repo, and when it opens for public comment, as I'm sure it will, like all of the other movements, add your comment and add your support. Awesome. All right, next up then.
Ooh,
Good one.
cost management.
So
cost optimization. No, I think we all know that log analytics on Azure or logging in any cloud really can be quite depressing, can be quite the bill at the end of the month, to a degree where we've seen environments where it was a significant percentage of the entire cloud bill. You want to manage that, then Kubernetes happened, Azure Kubernetes happened, and then we had so much more logging, which we really love because it's great for debugging, but you get everything. And then at the end of the month, you might get a question like, do we really need it? And yes, you do really need that, but there can be some granularity, right? You don't always need everything.
Yeah.
And that's what they're pushing now to Container Insights, to actually be able to tell which tables do you want. You don't always have to do the full stack of everything in your logging, but just a small subset of what you need. Do keep in mind that there are some requirements for Container Insights to work properly. So you might lose some functionality if you leave out a table here and there, but it's totally up to you. It's just very, very good that we're doing this. I think this was also one of the blockers for some customers not enabling Container Insights, even though you kind of want to require it. Like, if we want to manage this, we require that this is enabled, but you always have that difficult conversations in terms of pricing. Now we have some granularity there, so that's very, very positive news here.
Be interesting to get hands-on with this and customize it and see just what a difference it can make without, like you say, losing that functionality that you rely on.
And that is documented clearly, though, which tables. I mean, even though if you leave them out, they do state that you will lose functionality in Container Insights. I mean, that's a choice, but it's up to you.
Another cool feature of it is you can actually change the time it pulls the logs. So instead of 1 minute, or it can be 5 minutes instead. So you can actually have less logs, keep the same tables, but pull less down, so you're not checking constantly, which is quite nice to see.
Less ingestion.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, it's the same amount of data, but not continuously.
Yeah, and the ingestion charges are a lot of the times where you're really getting stung on the costs. So with log analytics, your first 31 days of data retention is free. So if you're just keeping it for a month for this sort of stuff, then ingestion charges is where you really start paying for it. So
what this also takes away is, I mean, I very often hear the argument that, I mean, you can configure retention and once it's full, let's stop, but you don't really want to stop logging, right? I mean, if something happens and then there's a lot of data going in, you don't want it to stop at the 22nd of the month, and then something happens on the 25th, and we're all just scratching our head going, what just happened? So I'm really happy with this.
Awesome. Finally, in the news for this episode then is some AWS EKS news. So
this is the one I thought you were asking me about earlier. I was like, is this the one?
So,
and then there's something else on the screen.
I'm asking you about it now, so while you volunteered.
Oh, right. I've not even read this one. So, but I think Wesley's read this one. So, Wesley, over to you.
Over to Wesley. All right, back to me. Thank you. So on Azure, we use CSI. We have drivers being maintained by Microsoft, like the add-on kind of thing for Kubernetes or for Azure Kubernetes Service. On Amazon, if you're using EFS and use it for your solution and using EKS, then now they have the same kind of technology. You can use the EFS CSI driver add-on through the Amazon console, through the EKS console, to use that driver, and it will, do the security patches, it will do the updates, it will do the upgrades, and you no longer have to do it yourself. And to me, that is the power of those managed Kubernetes services, whether that's on Google, AWS, or Azure, or somewhere else. The control plane is abstracted away, but they also make your life easier with these kind of add-ons, because you no longer have to worry about it. It's just one of those little things that you can just tick the box. No, that'll be fine. It's done. So yeah, they have a CSI driver, and that's thing very positive. I was going to say it's about time, but I mean, there's probably reasons for releasing one thing or the other or whatever the roadmap looks like. We've just been used to doing it on Azure for a very long time, so it was a very happy surprise.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's about the end of the news for this week. So what's next?
What's next is link 1, 2, 3 LinkerD. Richard was singing it before the show. 1, 2, 3 LinkerD. I don't know how the song goes, but let's move on to 10 minutes in tech.
And look at that. I've got my screen up already.
Oh, that was nice timing. Nice.
What a transition.
Professionalism.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, we got 10 minutes, maybe a bit less. We'll see how it goes. I've only ever done this demo once, so should be fun. But what I've done, I've got a new cluster called AKS LinkerD Test UKS Admin, and I've already deployed some pods in here. So we've got a gateway pod at the top, and we've got a traffic pod at the bottom. So this is just a way to get the traffic to go to all of these REST services and gRPC services. So they're all deployed. They've been running for 159 minutes. Chucking traffic around the whole cluster to make the demo work, basically. So we've got all of these REST services, and these gRPC pods are running in a deployment. So we've got 3 replicas with a service. So what we want to see is it load balancing all the traffic to all of the pods to make sure it all works. So if we go and take a look at Grafana dashboard, we can see that 2 of my gRPC pods actually have no network traffic going to them at all. We can see the REST backend here, and this other gRPC one has traffic, and the other 2 REST have traffic. The traffic pod and the gateway pod also have traffic, but there's no traffic going to 2 of my gRPC pods, and that's because by default Kubernetes services do not support gRPC. So what it's doing now is it hits that service, and it supports it, but not load balancing ways. So it hits that service and just chucks it to 1 pod and only 1 pod, and it just continuously chuck it to that 1 pod. Whereas with the rest, it does the round robin load balancing. So if I go back to my terminal, we'll just clear this away, and I'm going to install LinkerD to basically bring me this gRPC round robin functionality into my cluster. gRPC is a cool technology. It's part of the CNCF if you haven't seen it, so go and check that out as well. And what LinkerD does is basically creates a service mesh inside our cluster for us and does the network routing via the sidecar containers it will inject into each pod. So let's go ahead and install LinkerD using a curl command to get it from the LinkerD script installation. So we just hit enter on that, and I'll go off and download the file for me. Hopefully my internet is quick enough. Seems a bit slow at the moment, but hopefully this shouldn't take too long to download. But as it downloads, I get my next command ready because we have something else to do. Nearly there, 1 second left, and download's complete, and it's installed. So here it says it's installed to 13.5, and it says we need to add LinkerD CLI to our path. So we just copy that command here and paste it in here. It also gives us some nice commands here to run as well. So my next one I'm going to run is to basically check which version is installed, just to make sure we actually have it. And we're going to use LinkerD version. So now we're using the CLI. And we can see that my local machine has 2.13.5, but my cluster has none. It's not available. So with that, what we're going to do next is the prerequisites checks, which is really nice because LinkerD have made it super simple. LinkerD checks, and with the pre, this will go over, check the cluster, check all of my other stuff, and that I've got the right access to set it up. And it's passed all of that. I've got green ticks on everything. So
that's pretty cool.
Query the API. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? Like, I'd like to see more things do that, which would be good. So next, you could install this with Helm or other tools, but because it's a simple demo, I'm just going to use basically kubectl apply, but I'm using the LinkerD install, the CRDs first, because it needs some CRDs, and then I'm just going to create that and apply it by hitting that. Goes off and creates quite a few little custom resource definitions. Like this one here is one I talked about earlier in the show with the app container app gateway for containers. I really want to call it just an ALB all the time, but it's app gateway for containers. I need to remember that. So that's part of the installation, and then we actually can install the main application. So we just not that command. Let me copy the right one again. That's because I highlighted it. And then if we do that, LinkerD install, and then we're just doing the full installation. So we do the CRDs first, and then we do the whole installation. And there's a lot of bits and pieces that's going to install into your cluster. What we can then do, again, because they made it super simple for us, is do LinkerD check without the -- pre. And then it checks our cluster to make sure the pods are up and running and we're ready to do things. And right now it's checking, there's no unscheduled pods, and now it's checking to make sure the pods are actually up. So we just wait a little while for these to pull down the container images and get them, do the initialization of the pods in the initialization containers, and then start the pods up. So
I really like that. The check.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And now it's checking to see if the policy is ready, container policy is not ready. So it goes through that, make sure everything else is up, all the certificates are there, all the control planes, and then we get a nice tick at the end. So, super simple. Really nice to see. And then one other thing I'm going to install is, you don't need this next bit, but this is just good for demos, is to install their visualization package. So we're just going to use LinkerD viz install, and kubectl how apply again. This just gets some other bits and pieces installed into the cluster to give us like a dashboard, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. The check utility there is fairly useful. It's sharp. It shows that this product has been well thought out, for engineers and for users, that it's good that it can go and run the pre-flight and the installation checks, and without you having to comb through logs and stuff. So that it's really sharp. Nice work, LinkerD.
Yeah, I really like it. And, I've just installed a service mesh into the cluster with a few commands. It's that simple to actually get it up and running, which is really nice. And I don't actually have to do much more configuration to it at all. But with that viz command, we get a nice little dashboard as well. So what this does in the background, Karl, is port forwards. It's installed a Grafana dashboard as well. But all we really want to see is the LinkerD dashboard. So hopefully, if
I think you answered Wesley's question there, but I'll ask it anyway.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate what kind of networking technology is used to access the LinkerD dashboard?
Yes, it's port forward. It is 100% port forward in the background, but it looks good. So I was being a bit impatient, but yeah.
And why is that a bad idea for the uninitiated?
I'll let you answer that one, Karl. As last week, you kept pasting it in the chat and spamming it.
It's just a temporary VPN kind. It's not persistent. If you want dashboards, I think almost every tool, even the Chaos Mesh thing, if you use the Chaos Mesh CTL, it does the same thing. It's good for demos and for quick debugging. If you don't normally use a dashboard, then you definitely want to do it with port forwarding, because it's the quick way to do it. If you want a persistent dashboard, almost all of the CNCF projects that have these kind of dashboards also have a way to have a persistent dashboard with a proper database, with everything that you need.
Yeah. But yeah, this dashboard's quite cool, because you can see, like here, I've got the overview of all the namespaces in the cluster. I can go to my gRPC one. I can see the LinkerD, and the LinkerD viz is showing me the traffic because it's going through there. I can see no traffic here because LinkerD doesn't know about these pods. It knows about it, but it's not intercepting the traffic. It's not routing or handling the traffic yet. So it can't give me any TCP details or anything. But it's really cool because you can click around here and you can go see your deployments, your services and jobs if you had any, and all your pods. So we can see all of the pods, and we can see it's not meshed, which is really nice to see. You can even do things like tap. Once you've enabled this, you can tap into the pod and see the traffic because it will secure it, MTLS as well. And then you can do top, so you can find out which ones are using the most, and you can check your routes. But we've got nothing really meshed at the moment in that gRPC namespace. So it's just something to sort of keep an eye of. But we can easily mesh it though. And it's super simple because you know how we talked earlier about annotations are sort of the magic for everything. If I open up a new tab here, and we'll go to my stream one, and we'll just make this a bit bigger once it loads up. We just use a kubectl apply command. We'll get deploys, and then we're going to LinkerD inject it, and then do the apply at the end. So what we're doing here, we're getting all of the deployments in the gRPC namespace that I have, outputting them as YAML, passing that to the LinkerD inject, and then applying this new file. So what that will do is I need to do the export again.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Do the export. I should probably have done it main, but we'll do that again, and then we'll do that. And what this does is basically, it gets the output of the YAML, injects an annotation inside it, and then it reapplies it. So we can see that the pods are all going to be restarting now. So we do kubectl get pods.
So basically, while it's running, you're saying
terminating.
So you're saying we don't need to do a difficult YAML. We can just use the LinkerD command line.
Yep. Yeah, but if you don't want to use a LinkerD command line, you can actually. It is just. I don't want. I did pick a terminating one, didn't I? Pick one that's not terminating this time. Let's pick this one here, and we'll paste that there. And all it's doing is actually injecting the. If I can get to annotation, it's a big file. This. Keep going up. It's basically just injecting the LinkerD inject one here, and here is saying it's created by the injector. But this bit here is the magic to sort of tell you it's there. And then this bit here is saying we can tap into it, so that could be true or false if you want to see the traffic going through, because it's going to do end-to-end encryption as well. Between the two pods with the MTLS. Which is nice out of the box. I've not done anything crazy or anything like that. So it's really nice to see how simple it is to actually enable it. So if we check the pods again, hopefully they're all up and running now. Yep, so they're all running. And then if we go back over to here, we can see now all of the pods are meshed, 100% success rate. We can see traffic flowing through everything, which is what we want to see. We can then go to tap, and if I go to the gRPC and pick that pod, for example, and click start, we can see all of the data coming in and what's it doing. It's doing a post, and we're getting okay, and we're seeing how the latency and stuff like that. So that's really cool to see, because if we went to, say, this pod here and we just did a kubectl get we'll do logs, put that in on the namespace gRPC. It's basically not going to tell anything because it's encrypted traffic, so you won't see anything in the logs. So you have to tap into the interface to see what it's doing, which is really cool to see, I think, because if you've got that secure communication, you want that to be secure. You don't want to be able to see what it is doing and stuff like that. So you would write your application so it does other logs here rather than what this is doing. And if we go back and look at Grafana, we should see now we have, so this one here, all the gRPCs at the top and now have traffic flowing through them as well. All the rest still have traffic and it's fine. So that's really how simple it is to install LinkerD. They've made it super nice and easy. And to actually make your current running containers and pods to actually use LinkerD is super simple as well. So yeah, that was quite less than 10 minutes, but you don't need long with LinkerD. That's the whole point of it. It's that easy to use.
Awesome. So you installed all of this with the shell commands, but if you had LinkerD on your cluster, is it just a case then of making sure your annotations are in place in your manifest files?
Yep. So if you're using like GitOps, go to your Git repository, add the annotations in, it will reconcile back to the cluster. LinkerD will notice the annotation and then start meshing it, which is really cool.
Okay. What's the best way to install LinkerD on your cluster then if you're running it in production? Is it like Helm install or is there?
whichever method you really prefer. Helm obviously is supported by default. You can use that. This method is really nice because it gives you a nice feedback to say you've got met all your prerequisites. Do that once, and then once you've got that done with your baseline of a cluster setup, your infrastructure as code, it's always going to hit those prerequisites. Then go to Helm, put into GitOps or something like that. Maybe one day we might see add-ons for it inside the managed clusters, like we do with some of them for Istio, for example. But yeah, it's really, really nice to see how simple this one is, and you can just do so much with it.
Pretty cool.
I really love the simplicity of it. But what I also really, really like is when you go through the dashboard and you tap into one of those containers, how quick it is. It's not like, oh, I'm loading it. Everything about LinkerD feels very snappy, very quick, very to the point. It's designed to do something, and it does that very well. It's not bloated. It doesn't contain stuff that you probably don't need.
No,
I really like it.
And if you didn't want to use the dashboard, here it's giving you the actual queries you can use. So like I could copy that query and go back here and just paste that in, and then I can get the same information in the CLI rather than just doing it in the portal. So you don't actually need that dashboard. You can use the same commands here. So it's really nice to see what it's doing. And all it does is basically inject a sidecar into your pods, and then that's the bit that does all the communication now.
So a service mesh does not have to be scary. It doesn't have to be a scary thing.
It doesn't have to be scary at all.
I mean, that does sound scary sometimes, but LinkedIn makes it easy.
So I was on Twitter, obviously, because I live on Twitter, it seems, and someone I follow who
Twitter.
X now, yes. Someone I follow who helped build or did build Rancher originally has been having a few issues trying to get service meshes like Istio working because it's good. It's a very good project, but it's a lot of work. Do you always need a service mesh? No. And if you do, why not just use LinkerD? In my opinion, it's just so simple.
I think it's back to the enterprisey versus non-enterprisey environments, as we like to discuss those kind of things. I think Istio is more of a bigger product with more features and definitely a use case, just more complex. But just for the normal stuff in a service mesh, LinkerD is fine, right?
Yep, for sure.
Just fine. Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Pretty cool demo. I definitely am impressed by those checks. It takes a lot of the wondering if you've done it right.
Yeah, but also afterwards, if something appears to be broken, I mean, I'm guessing you could just run the check again, right? Whenever you want to.
Whenever you want, and it'll just check it. So like you can do an upgrade and then you just check it again and it's all good. It's really nice.
All right. That brings us to the end of our show for this week.
Yes. So what's next week?
What's next week? What's next week?
Yeah, what's next
Are
week?
we going to pick something?
Episode 10 next week.
Episode 10.
That's 10 weeks, Wesley.
Yeah. Hopefully episode 10 isn't the beginning of the end.
I may not be here next week after that look, so
I'm just trying not. I'm just watching my language. Let's what are we talking about next week?
What haven't we talked about so far?
The landscape has lots of stuff in it, so
so we've done security, we've done service meshes. Whoa, what else have we done? We've done Git ops, we've done Dapper. So what kind of category do we need? Do we want some monitoring in here? We've not talked about monitoring much.
Observability.
Yeah,
that's the key word. Yes. So maybe we should have done something in the observability, maybe open telemetry or something else like that.
I'm just going through the list on CNCF projects. We got so many good stuff. Could do open telemetry, can we?
Potentially. We'll see how easy it is to demo in 10 minutes.
Open telemetry.
Yeah.
And
I like the
just thinking out loud here, we could also do a show, not next week, on container runtimes. We could do a show on container registries.
Yes.
Plenty.
We could do it on container registry sign-in, so your container image sign-in as well, so like Notary or something like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And that is supported in EKS or Amazon and Azure by default as well. So yeah, we should maybe look at that as well. Notary.
So container signing and admission controllers to make sure you're not bringing in any unsigned images and stuff. That would be pretty cool to demo, actually.
Yeah.
So observability it is then.
Sure.
Let's go for that. Let's
got
keep it
3
a
shows planned
surprise.
ahead now.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get a demo done for 10 minutes, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you all for watching. Richard, Karl, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
It was a blast.
Always is.
Once again. All right. No, wish you all a very good day. Wish you all a very good afternoon. I hope to see you all next week.
See you later.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.